And the reason that we learn this process is because this kind of problem does come up quite a bit in the class. And you've done domain before, right? So this is getting us started on some of the kinds of domain questions that we're going to get. You know, what do we normally mean by domain? It's the x values, right? Usually when you're dealing with a function, you have an expression of x on the right and you got y on the left. And you would like to know what values you can plug in for x. You would love it if it'd just be all real numbers. Anything you put in, no problem. But there's some situations you have to be careful. No divide by zero, no even roots of negative numbers, no logarithms of negative numbers. Those are things that we're not allowed to do. In this case, you could see that's a square root, so we can't take the square root of a negative number, right? So we have to think, how could we find the domain of this, the acceptable x values that are greater than or equal to 0? Then do this. 64 minus 4x squared is greater than or equal to 0. Set it greater than or equal to 0, and then do the process that we just learned. Let's find when this thing is greater than or equal to 0. So what is the first step? Factor. We need to factor this. Any common factors you see? There's a 4. So definitely what I would do as a first step, let's just divide everything by 4. So now that 16 minus x squared is greater than or equal to 0. Now, can you factor 16 minus x squared in any way that we've learned before? Okay, not x plus 4 times x minus 4. Close. Usually you've got these switched, right? Usually it's x squared minus 16, and you would say x plus 4x minus 4. The fact that you switch these just means you need to say 4 plus x, 4 minus x. Okay, so what are the critical values there? 4 and negative 4. Okay, so if we want to find when is this expression greater than or equal to 0, let's test 0 as being representative of the middle interval between negative 4 and 4. What do you get if you put in a 0 for x here? 16, which is greater than or equal to 0. So this thing is actually greater than 0 here, in between negative 4 and 4. And it would be less than 0 here and less than 0 there. But we wanted to know when is it greater than or equal to 0. So we're only interested in this middle interval here. So it would be, in any way you want to do it, negative 4 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 4. Or you could say negative 4 with a square bracket, 4. Same thing.